All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started this morning. So for those of you just hopping in, I did just mention if you're in your home and you have one around, it's totally 100% not necessary, but if you have a belt or a tie, like a robe tie or anything like that, I'm trying to think of another good, a scarf would be a good substitute. You can grab one. You don't absolutely need it, but it's going to be fun with some of the things that we're doing this morning. But we are going to go ahead and get started just in a comfortable seated position. If you're able to, I recommend sitting on a pillow just to elevate the hips. It makes it a lot more comfortable. Allowing the hands to fall wherever comfortable on the knees or in the lap. Just drawing the shoulders back and down. Once we feel like the body's settled, we can allow the eyes to draw closed here. Just taking these next few moments to really arrive on our mats this morning. Bringing our full attention to the breath. And if the mind wanders on tasks that we need to get done, on our rest of our day, or maybe what happened yesterday, we just bring our attention back to our breath. Maybe asking ourselves how we're feeling this morning. And honoring that feeling throughout our practice. Maybe we're feeling a little sluggish and tired. And if so, just letting go of judgment throughout this practice, not being too hard on ourselves. Maybe we're feeling a little bit more energized and spunky. And if so, we can try and push ourselves a little bit more in this practice this morning. Just honoring how we're feeling right now in this moment. While we're in the seated position, we're rooting through the sit bones, all the way through the crown of the head. The spine is long, the shoulders are relaxed, the face is relaxed. We can begin to slow the breath, lengthen each breath. This morning we're going to try a new breathing technique. We're going to learn something new. It's called alternate nostril breathing. So if you need to flutter the eyes open just for a little bit of direction, that's perfectly fine. We're staying in that seated position. For alternate nostril breathing, we're going to bring our thumb and our ring finger just to the outside of our nostrils here. We're not plugging anything yet. If you want to bring those two fingers just in between the eyes, we can. So it kind of looks like this. And so on our inhale, we're going to go ahead and press on our thumb on our right nostril, leaving the left nostril open. And take a big, slow inhale in through that left nostril. And on our exhale, we're going to plug with our ring finger and open up that thumb, switching our nostrils and exhaling out the right side. Then we switch again, plugging the thumb, letting go of that left nostril, inhaling, and switching sides and exhaling. We're going to go through about 5 cycles of this. This is really great for anxiety and calming the mind, centering ourselves, inhaling through that right nostril, and switching sides, exhaling through the left. Switching, inhaling through the right. And switching to exhale through the left. Just 2 more times, inhaling through the right. And switching, exhaling through the left. Last one, inhaling through the right. And switching to exhale through the left. Letting go of that grip. We're going to take 2 full breaths here in through the nose as a class. Taking a deep inhale for 1, 2, 3. And exhaling for 1, 2, 3. Beautiful job. Just 1 more deep breath all the way into the belly for 1, 2, 3. And exhaling for 1, 2, 3. Amazing job. We can go ahead and flutter the eyes open on our next inhale if they aren't already open. We're going to start with our shoulder shrugs. So we're going to start going backwards, shrugging them really high up into those ears and rolling them all the way back. Feeling those shoulder blades glide along the spine here. Just starting to find some movement. Keeping that breath through the nose. Noticing how we're feeling after those alternate nostril breathing. Maybe we liked it, maybe we didn't. That's perfectly fine. We'll switch directions of our circles. And coming back to center here. On our next inhale, we're going to go ahead and bring our elbows in at the sides, palms facing out here, just lifting the gaze a little bit, opening up the chest, and exhaling, rounding out through that upper spine. We're going to go ahead and clasp our hands, tucking the chin into the chest. Inhaling, we're going to keep that clasp, and we're going to lift the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, dropping our hands towards the right side, finding a bit of a side stretch. Inhaling back to center. And exhaling to the left. Inhaling to center. And exhaling to release down. We're going to find this little flow just 2 more times. Inhaling, elbows in at the sides. The gaze lifts. And exhaling, clasping the hands, tucking in the chin, rounding out that upper spine. Inhaling, lifting the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, dropping towards the right side here. Inhaling to center. And exhaling towards the left. Inhaling to center, and exhaling, releasing the arms at our sides. Last time, inhaling, squeezing the elbows in, really big hands, the gaze lifts. And exhaling, clasping those hands, rounding out through that upper spine. Inhaling, lifting the hands up towards the sky. And exhaling, dropping those hands to the right. Inhaling to center. And exhaling to the left. Inhaling to center. And exhaling, releasing down. Shaking out the arms at all. Building a little bit of warmth in the body. If we have that belt or strap or whatever that we had around us, we can use it today. I will give options for both. but we're just going to try some shoulder flossing is what it's called. So we want a really wide grip on that belt. We're just going to go ahead and draw circles around like this, all the way around. So if you don't have a belt or a strap near us, we're just going to do one arm at a time, and you just go all the way around with one arm. So whatever works. If you have a belt or a strap, you can go all the way around. If you feel like this is really easy, you can try to narrow that grip a little bit. It's a little bit harder. It feels amazing on opening up the shoulders though. And that is what we are doing this morning, predominantly in our class, is opening up our shoulders. But just staying gentle, so if you don't have a strap, doing that one arm. Taking one more big circle. And then if we have a strap, switching directions. If we don't have a strap, switching arms. Going as slow as we need. Releasing any sticky parts in those shoulders. Just breathing here. Taking one more circle. And then wherever we're at, setting down our belt if we had one. We're going to go ahead and shift our weight forward, coming onto our hands and knees here. We're going to go ahead and move into our cat and cows. So on our inhale, we're dropping the belly, lifting the gaze for cow. And exhaling, rounding out through that spine, tucking in the chin for cat. Inhaling for cow. And exhaling for cat. Moving with our own breath at our own pace. Like always, finding any wiggles that may feel good. If you like to go side to side, find a little bit of a side stretch. I always like to say that's what's nice about being at home is you can move in whatever way feels good and you don't have to worry about looking silly. So just messing around, finding anything that may feel good, rocking back and forth, side to side. And just really moving with our breath here, waking up the body. Eventually meeting on a neutral spine. And from here, we're going to go ahead and tuck the toes and just find a little bit of movement. We're going to sink the hips back in a circle here, and then come all the way back around, shifting the weight pretty far forward, coming all the way back, almost on the heels, and all the way forward, warming up the hips and the wrists here. And switching directions of that circle. Coming back to our neutral position. If we'd like to, we can flip our fingertips towards the knees here. And just maybe rock side to side or forward and back, warming up the wrists here. If we'd like to, we can bend the elbows a little bit and we'll really feel that stretch in the forearms. Taking one full breath here. And exhaling, breathing into those tight spots. Go ahead and flip the wrists, tucking our toes if they're not already tucked, lifting the hips here, and exhaling, pushing back into our first downward facing dog this morning. We can go ahead and bend one knee at a time, pedaling out the feet here. We're spreading all 10 fingers, pressing the chest towards the thighs, always keeping a nice bend in the knees here, especially this early in the morning. And from here, starting to warm up the body, we're going to go ahead and shift the weight forward, either dropping the knees for a kneeling plank or staying in a high plank. And just taking one full breath here, spreading through those fingertips, really gripping through. We're pressing away from the mat, feeling those upper shoulder blades inflate a little bit, drawing the belly button in towards the spine. And exhaling, sending those hips back to our downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting forward, dropping the knees if we need to for kneeling plank. And exhaling to hold here. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling to send it back. Just one more time, really warming up that body and our core. Inhaling, shifting forward to kneeling plank or high plank. And exhaling to hold. Inhaling, really pressing away from the mat. And exhaling, sending it back for down dog. Inhaling, the gaze is forward. We'll go ahead and travel to the top of our mats here. And exhaling for our forward fold, allowing the head to hang heavy here. We can grab opposite elbows and sway side to side for our ragdoll, keeping a generous bend in the knees. Switching the grips of our elbows. And on our next inhale, we'll come to a halfway lift, rolling the shoulder blades back here, really extending through the spine. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhaling, sweeping the arms back up towards the sky. And exhaling, swan diving down, forward fold. Inhaling for our halfway lift, spinal extension. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up and over, reaching through towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. And exhaling, swan diving down, forward fold. Inhaling, taking a deep bend in the knees, planting the hands on the mat here. We're going to go ahead and just step back into our child's pose this morning, keeping the knees close together or as wide as the mat. Sinking back into the hips here, allowing the forehead to fall heavy towards the mat. And just coming back to the breath here. We're going to come into a little bit of a side stretch, walking the fingertips over towards the right corner of the mat. And from here, we're going to go ahead and flip that left hand so that our palm is facing up. And we're going to intertwine the right hand with that left palm and start to pull that left hand towards the right corner of the mat here. We're really feeling that side stretch along the left side body. Staying gentle this morning. Feels really nice. With each breath, we're releasing any sticky spaces in that side body. Releasing go of that hand, coming back to center, Resetting for one full breath in our child's pose. And then switching sides, starting to walk the fingertips over towards the left corner of the mat. And from here, finding that same side stretch, we're flipping the right palm facing towards the sky. We're going to go ahead and bring that left hand to clasp with it and start to use that left hand to pull the right arm just a little bit, staying gentle here. Really opening up that right side body. Taking one more full breath. And on our next exhale, releasing that grip. Coming back to our child's pose here, just for one more moment to recenter. We're coming into our sun salutations next. So, as I always say, it's one breath per movement, so treating it kind of like a moving meditation. Feel free to go at your own pace if you like to move with your own breath, at your own kind of flow, or feel free to follow along with me as always. If you'd like an extra challenge, if you've been coming the past few weeks, you can always try maybe halfway to close the eyes. That really helps it feel a little bit more like a moving meditation, helps you really get in touch with the breath. So if you'd like a little challenge, we can try that this morning. But with that, on our next inhale, we're going to go ahead and shift the weight forward, coming into a kneeling plank here. So the spine is nice and long. The shoulders are over the wrists here. And exhaling, squeezing the elbows in at the sides, coming all the way onto the bellies. Inhaling, opening up the heart. We're pressing in through the tops of the feet and creating a little bit of tension just by slightly pulling the hands back towards the toes here. Elbows squeezing at the sides, opening up the heart for baby cobra. And exhaling, pushing through the hands back into our child's pose. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward for that kneeling plank. And exhaling, elbows at the sides, all the way down. Inhaling, opening up the heart for baby cobra. And this time on our exhale, tucking the toes and lifting the hips for our downward facing dog. Inhaling, the gaze is forward. We'll travel to the top of our mats. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling for our halfway lift. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up and over. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, planting the hands on the mat. We're going to go ahead and step that left foot back, finding our low lunge. And exhaling the right foot back, finding our downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward, coming either to high plank or dropping the knees for kneeling plank. And exhaling, elbows at the sides, all the way down. Inhaling, opening up the heart, untucking the toes for our baby cobra. And exhaling, tucking the toes, lifting the hips for downward facing dog. Inhaling, the gaze is forward, traveling to the top of our mats. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling for our halfway lift. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up and over. And exhaling, hands through heart center. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, planting the hands down on the mat, stepping that right foot back for our low lunge. And exhaling the left foot back for downward facing dog. Inhaling, shifting forward to high plank or kneeling plank. And exhaling, chaturanga, elbows at the sides. Inhaling for baby cobra. And exhaling, pushing back to down dog. We're going to move through our sun salutation just one more time this morning. So, like I mentioned earlier, if you'd like to try closing your eyes, you can. Of course, if you feel lightheaded at all or just unsafe in your surroundings, you definitely do not have to. Sometimes it helps focus a little inward. So inhaling, the gaze is at the top of the mat. We'll travel to the top of the mat. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling for our halfway lift. And exhaling, fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. This time on our inhale, just taking a deep bend in the knees, planting the hands, and just stepping back straight into our downward facing dog. And exhaling to hold. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward to high plank or kneeling plank. And exhaling, chaturanga. Moving with our own breath here, meeting back in our downward facing dog. We have a few moments here, so if we'd like to grab a sip of water, take a quick child's pose, that's perfectly fine. Just taking some time to ground ourselves and recenter after our sun salutations. Eventually all meeting back in our downward facing dog. And from our downward facing dog, we're going to go ahead and inhale our right leg up to the sky, finding our three-legged dog. That foot can be pointed or flexed, whatever feels most comfortable. Standing leg is just a little bit bent. We want that right hip pointed towards the mat here so that our hips are nice and squared. And from here on our next inhale, we're going to go ahead and step that right foot through, placing it in between the hands for a low lunge. And on our low lunge here, planting that left hand just on the inside of the right foot, we're going to go ahead and inhale the right arm up towards the sky, finding a little bit of a twist. So I just got a Zoom notification that I only have 10 minutes left. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it gives me more time like it usually does. I apologize. I thought I had Zoom Premium. But worst comes to worst, we'll just all hop right back onto the Zoom. I apologize for that inconvenience. Exhaling, planting that right hand back down, finding that low lunge. From here, we're going to go ahead and plant that back foot at a 45-degree angle, preparing for our Warrior One or Virabhadrasana One. And inhaling, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center, taking a bend in that front knee, rolling the shoulder blades back here, feeling strong in our Warrior One. And from here, we can go ahead and clasp the hands behind the back, opening up the chest, the gaze lifts. And then our exhale, coming into a humble warrior, we're going to slowly start to hinge at the hips, bowing down, leading with the chest until the chest comes even with the thigh or the knee here we feel unstable at all, we can walk the feet out towards the outside edges of the mat. Once we get to here, we can allow the head to hang heavy, the hands to creep over the head here. We're still pressing into the outside edge of that left foot, keeping that bend in the front knee, squeezing the shoulder blades together, feeling strong. This is a very active pose. Allowing the crown of the head to hang heavy towards the floor. And on our next inhale, slowly coming all the way back up to our warrior one. We're going to go ahead and straighten that front knee. So our back foot's at a 45-degree angle. Our front toes are up, facing towards the front of our mat. We're going to inhale, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, coming into a pyramid pose. The hands can just fall on the shin, ankle, or floor. The spine is long here, doing our best to keep both hips pointed towards the front of the mat, nice and squared. Just finding a bit of that hamstring stretch. And on our next inhale, wherever we're at, slowly walking the hand up the leg, coming all the way up, reaching out the arms up towards the sky, and exhaling, taking a deep bend in that front knee, framing that front foot again, spinning on the back for our low lunge, and exhaling, stepping back to our downward facing dog. Having the option here, we can shift the weight forward and come into a chaturanga, or we can meet straight back into our child's pose here. Listening to our bodies and how we're feeling. We're all going to meet back in our child's pose. Taking a few breaths here. Reminding ourselves at any point in our practice, we can come back to this pose. And taking our time, there's no rush. We'll all meet back in our downward facing dog. Starting to switch sides here on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and extend that left leg up towards the sky, finding our three-legged dog. Left foot is pointed or flexed here, staying strong. Gripping through our finger pads. And on our exhale, stepping that left foot through, coming into our low lunge. As always, if our foot doesn't make it, we can use our hands to help a little bit. And coming into that same twist, our right hand is on the inside of our right foot, and we're inhaling to reach that left arm up towards the sky. The gaze follows. Really focusing on the breath here. Taking one more inhale to reach, and exhaling, reframing that front foot here. We're going to go ahead and bring that back foot planted on the mat at a 45-degree angle, preparing for a warrior one. And inhaling, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center, sinking into that front knee. And just taking a moment here to notice how we're feeling, making any adjustments. We want to try and keep our hips square towards the front of the mat. Relaxing the shoulders down. From here, we can go ahead and clasp the hands behind the back, opening up the chest, the gaze lifts. And coming into our humble warrior, slowly hinging at the hips, bowing forward, leading with the chest until the chest comes just to the inside of the knee here. And once we're here, we can allow the head to hang heavy, reaching the hands up towards the skies, squeezing our shoulder blades together, feeling strong here, pressing evenly into both feet, maybe even feeling the core engage, bringing our full attention to the breath. And on our next inhale, coming all the way back up to the top, releasing that grip. We're straightening that front leg here. Hips are square towards the front of the room. Taking one deep inhale together, reaching the arms up. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, coming into that pyramid pose. Hands can rest on the shin, ankle, or floor. The spine is long, the gaze is down towards the mat. Feeling that nice hamstring stretch. Inhaling, walking the hands up the leg, coming all the way up to the top, reaching the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, taking that deep bend in that front knee, reframing the front foot, spinning on the back foot, coming into that low lunge. And exhaling for a downward facing dog. Same options as before. We can find an optional chaturanga or come straight into that child's pose. If you'd like to find some movement, we're inhaling, coming to plank or kneeling plank. And exhaling, chaturanga. Grabbing any water if we need to. And coming back into our child's pose. And from our child's pose here, wherever we're at, meeting back in our downward facing dog, tucking the toes, lifting the hips. Taking one full breath to recenter. And inhaling, the gaze is forward. We'll travel to the top of our mats. And exhaling for our forward fold. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up towards the sky. And exhaling, hands to heart center. We're gonna come into our balancing pose. Hello everyone, I'm so sorry about that. It's such a bummer, but I will be sure to email my boss and figure that out so that that doesn't happen again. Hello everyone, welcome back. I tried to get you guys in a standing position so you could quick get back on the Zoom. Thank you for being so patient with me. I will solve that issue so that that doesn't happen again. But this worked out well. Thank you for all coming back. So like I was saying, we're gonna come into our balancing pose this morning, which is gonna be dancer pose. Dancer pose is a really great shoulder opener, which we kind of already opened up those shoulders. And it also, really works on those hip flexors. So if we have that belt or tie, scarf, we can use that right now. It is an option, but you do not have to have one. So if you're not at home and you don't have one, do not panic. I'm going to show both ways. So we're going to start by grounding all four corners of the left foot into the mat. If you don't have a strap, we're just going to go ahead and grab the outside of the ankle or the foot, whatever feels comfortable here. If we have a strap, we can use that strap and loop it around the ankle, kind of like so. And we can play around with what feels best. I'm already losing my balance. So really focusing on the core here. bringing the attention to the belly button. I heard that works. So we're holding onto our strap here or the ankle. We're going to go ahead and inhale, lifting that left arm up towards the sky. And then our exhale, we're going to slowly start to bow forward, kicking in through that right foot into our hand or into the strap. The left palm reaches down. So we're either like this with our strap, or we're grabbing onto that ankle, stopping wherever feels comfortable here. This is a challenging pose. So we're using that arm to counterbalance our leg here. The harder that we kick into our leg, the more stable we'll feel. Keeping a slight micro bend in that standing leg. If we're using a strap and we feel like we can hang on to the foot, we can try and switch. Just playing around this morning. If we fall out, that's perfectly fine. Get right back in. Taking 2 more full breaths here. Really seeing how deep we can go this morning without pushing ourselves too far. And on our next inhale, coming all the way back up to the top. And exhaling, releasing down. Shaking out the arms and the legs. It's not easy. Grabbing a sip of water if we need to. Just taking 1 more moment before we switch sides. And when we're ready, we'll start to switch sides. If you have a strap, and if you liked it, we can grab it. If you don't have a strap, it's perfectly fine. We don't need it this morning. We're going to start by grounding all 4 corners of the right foot into the mat, starting to switch sides, and grabbing either the outside of that left ankle or foot, or looping the strap around. Inhaling, reaching the right arm up towards the sky. And exhaling, that right palm is facing down towards the mat, starting to lean forward, engaging the core. We're kicking that left foot back into the strap or the hand until we find that perfect balance where our arm is counterbalancing our leg. Really feeling that left shoulder open. Bringing our full attention to our breath. Maybe even finding a smile here. I know this is not easy. Taking 1 more full breath here. Maybe noticing how this side may feel different. Maybe we feel a little bit more off balance, or maybe a little stronger. And on our inhale, coming all the way back up. And exhaling, releasing down. Shaking out the arms and the legs again. Great job, everyone. If you have that strap, we can put it to the side. We're not going to use it again. We're going to go ahead and inhale, reaching both arms back up towards the sky. And exhaling, hinging at the hips, folding forward here. Allowing the head to hang heavy. You can stay in a forward fold if this feels nice. If we'd like to find our gorilla pose, we can come to that, taking a really deep bend in the knees so that our chest is resting directly onto the thighs here. And from here, we can go ahead and bring the hands, palms up underneath the feet so that the toes are in the wrist creases. Allowing the head to completely hang heavy. We can shake the head yes and no here. We can widen our stance if we feel off balance at all. You can even wiggle the toes to massage the wrist creases. I think this feels amazing, especially after so many downward facing dogs and planks. Just releasing that tension. And from here, we can bring the hands out from underneath the feet. We can go ahead and keep that deep bend in the knees and just plant the hands and step back into our downward facing dog. And from our downward facing dog, we're going to be coming into our pigeon pose. So if we have any past knee injuries, I just want you to hang out in downward facing dog for a second because I'm going to give you another option. If not, coming into our pigeon pose, we're going to go ahead and slide that right foot up so that our knee almost meets our right wrist. Our leg does not have to be parallel this way. That is a lot of tension on the knee. So it can be folded in like so. I don't know if you can see. Untucking that back toe here and just sinking back into the hips. We can always put a pillow, a blanket, or a block underneath this right hip here for some support. If you've had a past knee injury, the other option that is exactly the same stretch is just to roll over onto our backs and hold our foot like so. So wherever we're at on our backs or in our traditional pigeon, we can be high up onto the hands, tenting the feet or the fingertips. Maybe we have that support under the right hip. If we'd like a little bit more of a stretch this morning, we can start to fold forward, leading with the chest. Stopping wherever comfortable. This can be an intense pose, so just breathing into any sticky spaces in the hips and going slow. Wherever we're at, starting to walk the hands back up. We're going to tuck that back toe. Just lifting that back knee, really pressing through the hands and coming back to our downward facing dog. If we're on our backs, just rolling over and meeting us. Or you don't even have to roll over. You can stay on your backs and we're just going to switch sides. So in our downward facing dog, switching sides, sliding that left foot so that our left knee meets that left wrist here. Dropping the back knee, untucking the toes, coming into our pigeon on this side, noticing how this may feel different. Again, having that same option to bring a block or pillow, blanket underneath that left hip if we need a little bit more support. Now having the same options as before, just to stay right here and stay tented up on the fingertips. Or we can try walking the hands forward and folding forward, just going slow. On our next inhale, slowly coming all the way up, wherever we're at. Tucking the back toes, lifting that back knee. We're going to go ahead and come back into our downward facing dog. And from our downward facing dog, we're going to go ahead and shift the weight forward, coming on to our knees, untucking the toes, coming all the way onto our bellies here. We're going to be finding one last shoulder stretch from our dancer pose. So from here, we're going to go ahead and extend the right arm out to the side, palm down. And from here, we're pressing into that left hand, and we're going to slowly turn over to that right side. For a shoulder stretch, we can bring that left foot and place it behind our leg. This makes it a lot more intense, so do not feel like you have to do that. You can also bring it to the inside just for some more stability. And this is an intense shoulder stretch, so we're not pushing ourselves too far. You can allow the head to hang heavy towards the mat. Just relax here. Slowly coming back onto our bellies here. And just simply switching sides, extending the left arm out to the side, pushing through that right hand. Go ahead and roll over onto that left side here. Having the same option as before, we can plant that right foot back behind the leg or even in front, whatever feels the most comfortable. Just taking a few deep breaths here, breathing into any sticky spaces in those shoulders. We carry a lot of tension in our shoulders, so just breathing into those spots that may feel a little bit more tight can be really relaxing and releasing of that tension and weight that we carry around all day with us. This is also a really great stretch for our posture, which I know is something that I always have to remind myself to work on. Slowly coming back onto our bellies here, pressing in through both hands, coming onto the knees. We'll go ahead and sit to one side, bringing the soles of the feet together, coming into a butterfly pose. We're just taking a few moments here so we can flap our wings if we'd like. You can hinge at the hips and fold forward, keeping the spine long, leading with the chest. Taking one more deep breath. And on our next inhale, slowly walking up, bringing the hands to the outside edges of the legs, bringing the feet together, and just slowly coming to the tops of our mats, coming all the way onto our backs. We'll inhale both knees into the chest here, and we can start to draw circles with those knees, massaging the lower back. And switching directions. And coming back to center, extending both legs out long, inhaling both arms up overhead for our good morning stretch. Pointing the toes, spreading through all the fingers, finding length throughout the entire body. And exhaling, bringing the arms at our sides or wherever comfortable. The legs as wide as the mat, taking up as much space as we need, making any adjustments until we can finally allow the body to settle. Allowing the eyes to draw closed here. Coming into our final relaxation or Shavasana Pose. Releasing go any tension in the face, in the shoulders, all the way down to the hips and the feet. Just noticing how we're feeling here, reaping all the benefits of our practice. It's pretty rare that we just stop and take a moment in our day to notice how we're feeling. And to just breathe, to simply exist. So appreciating this rare moment of stillness here in our body and stillness in our mind for Shavasana. Slowly beginning to bring some awareness back into our environment, inviting small movements into the body by wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers, maybe even rocking the head side to side. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and reach one arm up overhead and slowly rolling over onto that side, using that arm as a pillow. And from here, we can use that top hand to press ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. Bringing our hands to heart center, just taking one more moment to thank ourselves for coming to our practice this morning and taking the time to honor our bodies for all it's led us to do throughout this practice. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.